Welcome to Viking Spotlight, a podcast about people, events, and projects in the North Canton City School District. I'm your host, Jeff Wendorf. Today we're talking to a recent graduate, Jess Halmasy, who was the CEO of the National Company of the Year for Junior Achievement. Mr. Mike Grady, who is a business management teacher at Hoover High School, and Junior Achievement for North Canton, North Central Ohio President Lori McCleese. Jess Halmasy is a 2022 graduate from Hoover High School. Congratulations. Was the president of a senior class and is the CEO of Brain Wave. He will be attending Kent State University in the fall, where he will major in political science and business management. Mr. Grady has completed his 8th year at Hoover High School teaching business management and entrepreneurship at the high school, and his 13th year teaching overall. His senior business students are part of the Junior Achievement Program, and his teams have been named National Company of the Year for the last 4 out of 5 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome. What a record. Lori McCleese has been the president of Junior Achievement of North Central Ohio for 3 years. Prior to working for Junior Achievement, she served as president of the Huntsett Community Foundation and worked in development at the Alzheimer's Association. Prior to working for nonprofits, Ms. McCleese was the regional director in banking. She currently serves on the Education Committee for the Canton Regional Chamber of Commerce, the Government Affairs Committee for the Greater Akron Chamber of Commerce, and the College and Career Readiness Committee for the Orrville Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you. Great to be here.
All right. Well, before we start, I just want to say congratulations. What a last few months, what a year, and just take a moment to say congratulations to all of you. Lori, you helped lay the foundation for success of JA companies throughout the North Central Ohio region. Mike, you once again advised and mentored a Hoover JA company to the top 15 in the country and the ultimate championship and winner. And Jesse, as a CEO, you led your team of other peers and high school students to become the National JA Company of the Year for 22. Jesse, could you share the names of your team and how they helped you out?
Absolutely. So I had my right-hand man, kind of, and a few people actually. So first was my brother Jimmy Halmasy. He was my VP of sales, played an incredible role in breaking this year's Junior Achievement sales record. My chief marketing officer was Kelsey Hill, another one of my right-hand players. She did an incredible job through all social media. Rachel Noby, my chief operating officer, just overseeing every day, basically, all the ins and outs of the operation. Andrew Roach, our human resource officer. Connor Pownell, our project manager. Nick McCracken, our chief technology officer. Mike Shimmick, our public relations officer. Charlie Zur, our supply chain director.
And Robbie.
And Robbie Smart, my chief financial officer.
Can't forget the money, man.
You're right.
Right. Awesome. Well, that's a great group of kids. I know you guys had fun. We'll have more questions for you here in a second. Lori, how'd you get started in JA? And what drew you to the work in the program? And share with us the purpose of JA.
Sure. So I like to say that I'm a recovering banker. I had a long career in banking, but wasn't fulfilled. And while I was working in banking, I did a lot of volunteer work, was a longtime Big Brother, Big Sister mentor, and actually taught junior achievement in college. Okay. So when this position came open to prior junior achievements were merging, I'd been at the Hudson Community Foundation for a couple years, and I really just missed working with students, and was obviously very passionate about financial literacy with my banking background. So it was a perfect fit and culmination of all of my career experience.
Great. What's the purpose of JA?
So interestingly enough, we just changed our logo and our vision. Okay. And so our new vision is a world where students have the skill set and mindset to build thriving communities. But in short, we work in 3 pillars: financial literacy, work and career readiness, and entrepreneurship education. And although we do that in the K-12 space, we are highly focused on middle and high school at North Central Ohio.
Yeah, good. So that financial literacy is a big piece of it, one of the pillars you mentioned, and that's awesome. And that's a big topic today in education and in the world. But it's great to see the students combine that with entrepreneurship and the other things to learn how to run a business, no matter how big or small. But Yeah. Mike, we talked on a previous podcast about the process you follow as you form companies and help the kids form their company and decide on products. For those that didn't listen before, how do you take us through that process again? Because you've done this a lot and at a very successful rate.
It's a great process, and I was joking with this year's teams that when we start a new school year, all of the students from the previous year have graduated because business management is a senior class. So I have a whole new team. I need to have a whole new team of starters, we joke. But when they come in, we do a lot with resumes and cover letters and interviews, and that's a big part of what the students learn at first. And so as the teams start to form, that is all student-led. So the first thing we ask is that the CEOs who would like to be CEOs apply, and they fill out a real job application. They turn that in to me, and then I ask them to go ahead and prepare a 5-minute presentation on why they should be elected CEO. So we did that this year, and out of our class of 20, we had 9 students apply, which is great. The more students that want to be leaders, the better. So I could tell real early this year that we had a great class of students who wanted to take leadership roles. And so we went through that process, and then the students elect their CEOs. I actually don't have a vote. I facilitate it, but I want that to be completely student-led. So Jesse was one of our CEOs that was elected, along with Nick Saris. And so once they're elected, they have the choice on who they select. So because we already had resumes and cover letters, those are available for the CEOs to review. And we take an entire day where they interview each other. And so Jesse and Nick did a great job of that. So after the interviews, then we go and do a draft. And so it's about as big as your fantasy football draft, right, every year. Yeah. And so the students are picked by the CEOs, and once they're in their teams, then we teach them about the different roles and kind of do that a little bit beforehand, but then they decide as a group who will fit each role. So Jesse talking about all of the students' positions, like they actually decided amongst themselves who would take those positions. So it's really great. It's a student-led process, and it's really fun for me to kind of watch all of that form.
Great. Yeah, that's outstanding. Awesome to see them do that and take the leadership. Yep. Well, let's talk about Brainwave, the company and the product. It focuses on helping people keep their brains sharp by improving logical thinking skills, memory, and creating through fun cognitive exercises in an activity book. Jesse, how'd you guys come up with that idea? What took you to that? Tell us the story of that.
So that's actually a pretty funny story. So I never had a first period class up until this year, and it was miserable getting up that early. So we decided, well, a lot of kids struggle with this. A lot of people struggle with things called brain fog. And from there, that really just opened the door into what extensive research would be into our later cause of trying to help progressive diseases and things like that as well. So it really just started with I can't get up from my bed to a big company who won the national championship. So that's actually pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Mike, what guidance do you give to students who are deciding on their project? Any guidance at all? Because, I mean, when you hear business and so on, you need to solve a problem for somebody, right? Or give a product that they want or a service to solve a problem. Tell us about your procedure for that.
It's the hardest thing every year because, in a normal classroom, the teacher has the key. Well, there is no key for coming up with a business idea that's going to be successful. So we talk about solving problems, and we go through a lot of examples of different problems and how to solve it. But a lot of the ideas aren't the idea that they end up with. So it's hard for me to say, hey, keep thinking. And so, this year the groups had 3 ideas at one point that they were in teams of 3 presenting these 3 ideas to kind of figure out which idea would take. So it is a process that takes sometimes 2, 3, 4 weeks. So as a teacher trying to plan where we're going to go with lessons,
clock is ticking.
The clock is ticking, and this process takes precedence. And then always looking back at that, the students remember it much more fondly than they do when they're actually coming in and trying to figure out as a team what the direction of their company is going to be. So I facilitate it, have to tell them a lot that the ideas aren't good ones, and so keep thinking. And luckily, both of our teams this year came up with incredible solutions to problems with great products.
That's awesome. Great. Well, Jesse, your team, Brainwave, went through a process this year a little bit of changes, and I think any successful company does that. And so, many talking about the last few weeks of the year and your trip to nationals, and in a local competition, you didn't finish in the top level. And what approach did you take to changing to try to make yourselves more competitive?
So it was really just a start of making sure our attitudes stay right throughout the year. So at that point, it could have been easy to just say, yeah, we're not going to make it to nationals. But instead, we decided to take the information we got back, do the tweaks in our commercial and annual report, really change our target audience, and go to that business-to-business sales approach. We saw this was where we made our biggest impact with the senior living facilities. So we just decided to stay amongst that and really keep our heads up as we continue the year.
Okay, so I think I heard you say you approached the customer base, or who your target audience, and then you took feedback on your financial reports. Yeah. So how did you tweak those?
So the main tweak came down to our target audience, our marketing campaigns. When it started on the front of our book, it says "Fun for all ages." It just makes it easier to have an identified target audience that this book will impact, that this is something that they're going to want to see.
Okay, good. That's awesome. Lori, as president, you've of the North Central Region JA. How did you directly involved with the programs?
This is just such a fun program to be involved with, and it's really our capstone for our area. So North Central Ohio has 16 counties, and when I started, I knew that Stark County had a pretty strong foundation for high school entrepreneurship. So I stay involved because I just want to make sure it continues to get better and better and better.
Good. So 16 counties. Do you know offhand how many high schools that is? We
work on any given year, 70 to 80 different districts.
Okay. All right.
In Stark County, we worked in 12 of the 17 schools and reached probably around 5,000, in excess of 5,000 students this year.
Right. So roughly 70% of the schools in Ohio maybe have a JA program, or at least a class?
So there are 8 different JA areas in Ohio, so 8 different JA presidents. And we are probably reaching, not that many actually, we're probably penetrating about 15% of the student population in Ohio. But we're having a major shift as an organization, to focus more on that middle and high school level to help solve problems in our community, workforce, financial literacy, and create entrepreneurs who actually want to stay in the state of Ohio.
Right. Yeah, that's a big thing, isn't it? Yeah. Well, Jesse, I've seen the video of your reaction, and as you got news that you were Company of the Year for Brainwave, what was your first thought at that moment?
At that moment, my first thought was, did they just say Brainwave? We were honestly all overwhelmed with emotion. Up until that point, I could actually feel the hearts beating of my entire team. It was just an absolutely incredible experience.
Yeah, that's great excitement, and that's awesome. How do schools, Lori? How do schools go about starting a program if they don't have one?
They just need to reach out to us. They can email me directly, lori.mcleese@ja.org. We have strategic priorities, which are high school entrepreneurship, middle and high school career readiness, and we are responding strongly to the new financial literacy mandate that the legislature passed in the fall.
Yeah, good. Jesse, what have you learned from your experience in JA?
I've learned that through it all, no matter what you think you're doing in the future, connections are the most important thing in life. Everyone has a story. Everyone has someone else down the line. Never take a single connection for granted, because you really have no idea when it's going to come back to benefit you.
Sure. Everybody has something to offer, and right, everybody has something to learn. That's great. Mike, you're taking a leave of absence this year, and we're sad about that. We're excited for you. I've told you that many times, but could you share your plan for our listeners?
Yeah, so outside of teaching, I'm a small business owner myself, and I co-own Velocity Sports and own Grady's Pitching School, so we teach and train pitchers, and that's grown over the years. I've actually been doing this ever since I've started teaching. And so we have a building in North Canton. It's a small facility, but we're building a second facility right now out in Canal Fulton, which is a much larger facility. It's 10,000 square feet. It's going to open in September. And so talking with my business partner, and most importantly my wife and family, we thought it was best for me to take a year to get the second building up and running. the way we vision that. And so I really, back in the winter, knew that this is what I wanted to do. So I approached the school district, and my comment to everybody is how supportive everybody has been with me for this. I told the students they were super supportive, and I'm excited for it, but also a little bit sad that I won't be in the classroom next year. But I also tell everybody I went to Hoover. My kids will graduate from Hoover. I live in North Canton, so no one's getting rid of me quite quickly.
And it's a leave of absence, so yeah.
It's
Good.
only a year. Yep.
Yeah. Well, who's going to fill in for you this year?
That has been one of the best parts of this is Mrs. Nicole Snyder has been teaching accounting for the past several years with us, and really very involved with our senior class, even though she doesn't teach it directly. She actually was a chaperone in DC this year. And so since this idea started over the winter, we've been meeting actually weekly and talking about how she should go about taking over the program. So she is more than ready. So I'm really excited to have her take the reins. She's going to do a great job.
Awesome. That's great. Well, Jesse, before we end the podcast, I'll ask you the classic interview question that most people get in interviews, especially educators. What do you see yourself doing in 10 years?
In 10 years, I hope to see myself working with a nonprofit or some other organization to really just better the environment, the people, the community around me. I feel like everyone should take that time when they still have the opportunity to do a benefit for their community, to do something that's impactful before they go on to their long-term goal.
Great. That's awesome. Well, you have a model sitting across from you with Ms. McCleese that she does a lot of stuff with chambers and a lot of things they do in the business program. And as a recovering banker, you've really stepped into helping kids and communities through what you do. So we appreciate that. Thanks. Anything else anybody wants to add?
I want to add one thing. We talk about being gritty and the word grit, and we talk about that in our district, in our classroom. And I would say that Jesse and his team of Brain Wave was maybe the grittiest group of students I have worked with, and them reaching the top was a result of their hard work and never giving up, and that is the spirit of entrepreneurship, and it has been awesome to be their teacher this year.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grady. Great to have you in our classroom with us.
Yeah, lots to learn there from getting tough news at some point and then not folding and getting better, right?
Absolutely.
That's all we want to do is get better. Ms. McCleese, anything you want to add before we go?
I just want to say thanks to Mr. Grady and all that he's done and how much I've learned from you over the last few years. It's going to help us at JA make this program better and maybe give Hoover a little competition in the future.
Right. Yeah. Don't share too much with the other 16 counties, but no, it's a great program, and the model that has been built here is just tremendous, and we too thank you for your leadership, and congratulations to all of you, and wish you all the best. So thanks for joining us today. And thank you to our listeners for joining us as we learn more about junior achievement and the outstanding success of the Hoover High School JA companies. While we don't have another podcast scheduled at this time for the rest of the summer here, we'll be back in August with our regular weekly podcast. Don't forget you can reach out and catch our previous podcasts on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and on our YouTube channel at the district website, northcantonschools.org. We also have a link on our district page to the Viking Spotlight directly. And if you have any questions or comments, please reach out to us at email at vikingspotlight@northcantonschools.org. And we'll take questions, suggestions, ideas, and even complaints. We'll get better, too, with our feedback. So show some grit, right? So anyways, if you have questions or comments, just give us an email at vikingspotlight@northcantonschools.org. And wish everybody the best. Have a great 4th of July and happy Independence Day. Thanks all.